Hey, welcome back to Master of the Wind. It's been a while since we did one of these, I know. I'm by myself this time. I wish Alex could be around for all of them, but, he lives a few hours away, so probably take a long time to do it that way. And I know it's already been a long wait for this one. So, yeah, I don't know what to say other than I've just been depressed. And I don't know what this one's going to be like, to be honest. Probably go back and forth between being depressed and just being filled with futile anger. This is Torrin, and just confirmed that he can cast 2 schools of magic, so that opens up a new piece of the game's lore. And unfortunately, we didn't get a finished battler for him. It's kind of blurry and stuff. But it's best we could get. I think I have it in progress one somewhere. I know I mentioned that once before. I'm gonna see if I can track down some of those and show them to you guys at some point. That would be cool. But yeah, I mean, for those watching a few years from now, if we're still here, the election in America was last week, and it sucked, and I don't know, it's just depressing. I'm not even sworn in yet, but it's depressing. What's the most depressing site in the world right now? Facebook. Oh my god. Everybody's so fucking miserable and it's just, it's bad. And sometimes I, feel kind of stupid being so depressed because I'm a white guy, so I'm not really in the crosshairs of all the Trump people, but I don't know, man. I mean, my heart breaks for the Mexicans and Muslims and everybody else who's going to be in trouble. It's not even it's not the typical liberal conservative thing, It's not like, oh no, Trump won, so we're going to have a conservative economic policy. That's the least of our problems. I think what makes it sting so much is that, I beat him. That was pretty easy. I think what makes it sting so much is that it's he was so nasty to so many people, the Mexicans and Muslims, and there's even a tape of him saying that, he makes a habit of grabbing a woman by the crotch, which is not his words, by the way. But none of that mattered, I mean, it's the guy's just a bully, and that wasn't a deal breaker for a lot of people, which is just sad. It's sad, but it's not that surprising because empathy's never really been a factor in American politics, which I know is kind of probably confusing to people in other countries. It's people are getting shot here all the time. Getting shot by cops, getting shot by each other, and nobody really cares. I mean, nothing changes. So yeah, it's been hard to do anything. It's hard to find that motivation. And I wish I had it, because doing creative stuff that would probably help. Working on my book would probably help, but it's so hard to concentrate. It's hard to, I don't know, and that's a typical depression thing, right? You can't concentrate, and I have depression, and it gets confusing to talk about because depression's a mental illness, So if you have it, you sort of have it in some form no matter what. But it's also highly influenced by the outside world. You know what I mean? It's not like, if you have diabetes, it's not like that's going to get worse because, the election goes some way. But depression and anxiety and some other stuff like that, it does. Alright, so we're done with Torin, and this is Saad breaking into the office to get the key. And it's a pretty simple little puzzle here. Kind of a ripoff from the Shawshank Redemption. If you've seen that movie, you remember there's a part where when Tim Robbins is breaking out of jail, he chops into like a sewer pipe with an axe. But in order to muffle the sound, he does it like as thunder's going off, so they don't hear it. And that's that's what Saad does. You just gotta time it. Okay, so here we go. This scene I'm not huge on. Just because mostly because of Emma, she's not my greatest work when it comes to characterization. This was a point in the story when I really had no clue what to do with her. So right now she's mostly just getting Auburn to talk. Because there's some, pretty good stuff for Auburn's character going on here. But she's kind of just there to listen, and then she gets randomly, offended, or not offended, but uncomfortable. And even though she sort of goads her into saying it, I mean, because she knows that something's going on with Auburn and Saad, and I know it's just sort of prodding her gently. And now they're traveling together as part of the Equipment King entourage, so it's a little awkward. Yeah, see, she knew that's what Auburn was going to say, but I don't know. I'm not sure what I was going for there, to be honest. Okay, so what happened? Oh yeah, now we're going to take the quiz, if I remember right. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't want to talk about the election the whole time, but it just kind of is hanging over a lot of people like a fucking cloud. It's just it's hard to escape, and hopefully by the time maybe by the time I get the next one of these done, enough time will have passed so that I won't be as down about it. But it's hard, because I worry about my kids, not their safety necessarily, but I worry about just growing up here, where this can happen. And it's there's people out there saying that everybody voted for Trump is a racist, and it's not that simple. All those people are enabling racism. I don't think there's any doubt about that, but because it's like, it's not that they hate Mexicans or Muslims or whatever, it's just they don't care. It's just not in the radar. And that's the empathy thing. That's that missing piece. I don't know. One little anecdote that's gone around that people like to share is that, and it's true, that the Canadian immigration site crashed on election night, which is pretty fucking funny in a sad way. And it's one of those things that people say, but it's a lot easier said than done. To actually move to another country, it's a lot of work. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've thought about it. I think about Prince Edward Island over in Canada. I've been there like 4 or 5 times. I really love that place. I wouldn't mind living there. But we believe in a lot of family behind. and both me and my wife would have to get different jobs. It's not so easy to just do that. So I like this scene. This is a fun bit. Sort of classic interrogation thing, and Stoic is coming off as very experienced this sort of thing, but Baron keeps piping in, and it's pretty funny. And this is probably Torrhen's most significant scene. I can't remember if I said this last time or not, but I kind of wish I had more time to make him a more fleshed out character. His personality traits are mostly that he's just, kind of edgy and jittery and, kind of like Tweak from South Park or something. But I don't know if he leaves that strong an impression. And, but like I said, I like Baron trying to be like all macho and tough. It's funny. I was thinking about, while I was playing this last time, just what changes I would make to Arc 3 if we were to do this game again. And I think something I'd like to do, should that ever happen, is I think I would have the Boreal stuff happen before all of this. I think, have to change a few things, obviously, to make that happen, but I think it would be cool to go to Boreal and get Laurel first, and then she would be involved in the Monastery stuff. Like, I thought that maybe she could even sort of go undercover as Saad's little sister. Because they're both blonde. They could probably, people could probably buy that. And just having her around and meeting those other characters, I think that it'd be kind of fun. So I think, with some food for thought. And in this bit here, which is happening just after Saad took the test, at one point Gabriella asks him, "How do you think you did?" or something to that effect. And depending on the player's score, Saad will say something different. Like right now he's going to say, yeah, it wasn't all that hard. So that indicates that the player did well. But I think if you don't do well, he says something like, yeah, I should have studied. Or whatever. Yeah, so now... Yeah, screw that class. He's not a big fan of the physical combat class. So he's going to go check out the tower, but he finds that there's people there. And this is a bit of a goofy thing. I sort of made fun of a sort of depressive poetry. Like we have those poems that are just miserable. Like Sylvia Plath, basically, is like the silver girl. The poster girl for that kind of stuff. And I don't know, I tend to find it tiresome. Not because I don't know what it's like to be depressed or whatever, I do, but I don't know. I guess I just still have a bad reaction to it for whatever reason. So we're coming up on a scene that is one of the better received from this arc, and it's one of the ones that I'm still really happy with the writing for it. And just the scene with Saad and Everend, and you learn something about Everend here, or about his family, that's significant. I'll wait till he says it before I comment, just to make sure, in case this is the first time and somebody's seeing the game. It's because of this. And in general, this monastery sequence, I was pretty inspired by kind of like the Spider-Man comics. And that's not apparent, obviously, because Spider-Man doesn't ever go to a religious school, as far as I know. But who knows? They've done all sorts of crazy shit recently, so who knows? But at least in the comics that I remember. Saad starts to find this tension between like what he came to the monastery to do, which is just to get information about the hand, however necessary. But his growing attachment to the place, to the people, creates a conflict, and it's a situation that there's no easy way out of. And I think that's pretty classic Spider-Man stuff. I mean, Peter Parker always could never win. Okay, so he just said it. His brother was deacon, and it's subtle, It's just in the middle of a otherwise pretty innocuous bit of dialogue. And this is pretty classic Spider-Man too, like being friends with someone whose loved one is an enemy or was an enemy. There was a lot of that with the Green Goblin, and the first Green Goblin was Norman Osborn, and he killed Gwen Stacy, and then he gets killed, and then his son was Harry Osborn, who was Peter Parker's friend, and there was always that tension, that Peter Parker was involved in his father's death, but Harry Osborn didn't really realize or didn't want to believe it, how much of a creep his father was. So it was hard, and I think that's part of what makes those comics compelling, is just when you realize that superheroism, I guess, can is meant to be a force for good, but it can hurt people that you care about, even if you did the right thing. It's not clean, it so I think I took some of that for this sequence. Because Saad is sort of fulfilling a need that he wasn't fully aware that he had. I mean, he always knew he missed out on school, and kind of regretted it just because of feeling embarrassed about certain things he doesn't know. But I think there was a greater longing for kind of the community aspect of just being a part of something. And he's he's college age. This is more like college than a high school, because he's got his own room, and he makes his own schedule more or less, and he lives on the campus. And I think of college as a really fun time too. I remember it very fondly, of just having a group of friends, and especially because I only had a few friends in high school, and I was so nervous about losing them, and just because of stuff that had happened, and so college was very healing experience. So I'll talk about this scene too, the finger cracking. This was Mark's idea. Somebody he knew had like a habit of doing this, so we just made a gag out of it. And then Finley says, in dangerous matters, you undermine my exercise at our peril. And that's a sort of offbeat, random politics joke. A while ago, around the time this stuff was being made, or maybe even earlier, Joe Lieberman, who was a senator from Connecticut, where I live, who thankfully has retired because I couldn't stand the guy. Even though he was a Democrat, he was always very sort of cozy with the George Bush administration, and he basically called out people criticizing the Iraq War and said that, in dangerous times we undermine the president at our peril, or something stupid like that. And so obviously Democrats in Connecticut weren't particularly happy to hear about that, and there was an epic primary the next year, 2006. This guy Ned Lamont, who was this guy who'd been on like the Greenwich Board of Selectmen, and he had a shitload of money, so he paid for the whole campaign and actually won the Democratic primary. But then Joe Lieberman just ran as an independent, and there you go. He won the general because the Republican candidate was, sort of thrown under the bus. So that was an interesting year. And fun fact, Joe Lieberman never actually changed his party registration, so he didn't really... Just goes how serious the independent thing was. And so now we have Sparrow showing up to silence Torrin permanently, which is really a rash decision by Kovac, right? They could have just broke him out, and gave him back to the hand and said, keep this guy away from the guards. But I don't know. I guess they panicked. And so Kovac gets in a fair bit of trouble for that. No, I was wondering if that kid said something different, but he doesn't. Alright, so I believe this is the final history class segment. We're getting reasonably close to the end of this monastery stuff. And then see how I did. Well, I got a perfect score. And this is the answer sheet, which is actually meant to help you in the Tower of the Sun, which is the thing coming up at the end of this, where your knowledge is tested once again. So honestly, this scene is going to be a little painful right now. It's all... I'm reading it in like a brand new, sad new context because of what's going on in our country my country right now. What's funny, I had a friend of mine who's played this game actually said to me on election night, I feel like Stoic at the dawn of Gallia. Which, we haven't seen that scene yet, so I won't get into too much detail, but it's funny that they thought of that. And look, I guess I should be fair to Donald Trump and acknowledge that he has not advocated for, outright genocide. Probably saving that for the re-election campaign. But I'll tell you, the people who voted for him are the ones who are going to be disappointed. I mean, he thinks Mexico's going to pay for a big wall on the border. It's a fucking fairy tale, man. They're not going to do that. And Congress doesn't want to pay. And frankly, this shit hurts. Because a good, healthy debate might have stopped Gallia, but it wouldn't have stopped Trump. It's not like that stuff's not out there. There's like a fucking cottage industry of just people pointing out how full of shit he is. But none of it mattered, because it's all... The people who watch that stuff are the ones who, weren't going to vote for him anyway. So it's... Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I can talk more about that next time, because I think we should wrap it up, because it's intermission. So maybe I won't be as depressing next time. Talk to you then. Peace.